Discuss of our learning should be a panacea. Yudalit Amud Aleph. Ravini Cruz is maybe it's like 20 lines, 17 lines from the top. I don't know. Okay, there's two dots there. Ravini Cruz. Ravini would call out. He was the crier. Sheyamachriz bebeis hamikdash. He would call out in the base of Mikdash. What would he say? Get up, Kayanim, to do the service, Levium to your position, and Yisrael to the Maimad. There were representatives of the Jewish people in the base of Mikdash. That would be there. So it sounds like he was waking them up in the morning, no? But it sounds like Imdu. Imdu means like get up, wake up. Yeah, someone told me he was in the yeshiva Chachmei Lublin. There they had a dormitory and like a real fancy yeshiva. They would switch your shoes if they saw your shoes were torn. They would find like a new pair of shoes for your bed. So, but they had a vecker, and he would come around in the morning and would sing, "My Shebrider was a schlapste weinst." They would wake you up with a song. Okay. It's a Yiddish song. To shine sides again, davening. Okay. Agrippas Melech Shama Koile at Ches Parsois Muslim Matanis Harbe. Agrippas. He was a descendant of the Hashmonai and other Idumean. So he heard Gvine calling out 8 parseis away. He gave him presents. I guess he was impressed. The Taklin Chadatan asks, apparently we have another Gemara that says that his voice was so loud that it would reach 10 parseis. He says, well, Agrippas happened to be 8 parseis away. Okay. Ben Gever al Nilas Sharim. Ben Gever was in charge on the gates, closing the gates. Yeah, someone told me he lived in a house that had all windows and doors. His job at night was to check all of them. Like the whole wall was to check them that they were locked. So, Tirgim Rav, Kume, the base Reb Shila, Kara Gavra, Achris Cruza. There's a Mishnah in Yuma that says Kresa Gever. When they would take the ashes off the altar, they would do it with Kresa Gever. Now, what is Gever? So he says by the calling out of the crier. Amalaya Markan Kratanagala. Reb Shila tells her Reb Shila wasn't bubbled before Rav. So Rav came there and he was Shila, I guess, was older than Rav. So Rav came and he was still, Reb Shila was there and Rav was interpreting. Reb Shila tells Rav, Saya means the calling of the rooster. Amalei, Vatanin Ben Gever, but we have a Mishnah by us that says Ben Gever. Is it possible to say that it's the son of a rooster? It can't be. So based on this Mishnah here, it tells me what the pshat is over there, that it has to be a person's name. Okay. Ben Bavi Alapakia. Ben Bavi was in charge of the wicks. Shahaya Mizayik Psilis. It was Mizayik. He would make them equal. Rabbi Yossi Ala Kufra. Rabbi Yossi came to the place of Kufra. Boim Imanan Alayo Parnasan. He wanted to appoint people to be in charge, probably of tzedakah. But Kiblu Minayo. They didn't want to take any positions. I'm busy learning or something. I don't know what they wanted. Oh, Amar Kameyan, he goes in and he says to them, Ben Babi Alapakia. The son Ben Babi, he was in charge of the wicks. You have someone, all he does is twist wicks or, tear them to the size. And he gets counted as if he's one of the greats of the generation. We're trying to appoint you. To give tzedakah to the poor, and you're not interested. Ben Arza al Tziltzil. Ben Arza was in charge of the symbol. Okay, we have the Mishnah over there. I think that means in Yuma, in Tamid, it is. That the person in charge, the Sagan, would wave the cloths, and Ben Arza would start the music with the clashing of the cymbal. That's right. Yeah, very good. Oh. See why it's good to give a shir? You remember. I wish I would remember. Okay, Hugris ben Levi al Ashir. Hugris ben Levi was in charge of the song. Amar Avachan Yima Yisera, he had a very sweet voice. Amar Allah al Hugris ben Levi sheyamanim asakol bezemer. He would make the sound of the song very sweet. He would stick his thumb in his mouth. They call this beatboxing. Something. What do? They put it. I don't know. It sounds like he would make many different sounds. Oh, with whistling. Oh, so maybe it is a type of whistling. I don't know if he's making a cappella, sphere music, or. So, what does this mean? Everyone would either get like shocked, or that means they would all lean forward or something, or the music would join in. They would all join in. Okay, it would be in something. How do they translate that? Oh, they would jump back. Okay, that could be. That's how the Takman Kharatin learns it. Yeah, but Basraish means like all together, like suddenly. Another pshat is saying the Marsha says that they would throw their heads back to raise their voices. You put your head back the chazan. Beis Garmel Ma'aseh upon him. Beis Garmel was in charge of the lechem upon him, the showbread. Beis Garmel hayabekim b'Ma'aseh lechem upon him. They were experts in making the bread and also taking it out of the oven. It was complicated because when you take it out, it could crack. But they didn't want to teach how to do it. They be a woman in Alexandria. They sent to Alexandria, send us your chefs, your bakers. And we need to learn how to do this because Beis Garmel will refuse to teach. So they came, but they weren't able to take it out. Beis Garmel would light the fire inside, and they would take it out from the outside. No, there's something going on over here. Taklin Khadatin says there's a mistake about something. He wants to say the next words. He wants to say that they were afraid of how to take it out, so they would actually bake it from the outside. They would heat up the pan and put it on the outside. Yeah. Like what are they called? Those things that you make omelets on? Like a griddle? What is it called? So it was probably hot, and they would put it there as opposed to baking it inside. Baking it inside was harder to get out. Anyway, the issue here is, at least according to some ways of learning this, is that in Alexandria, if they would wait till it got fully done, when they would take it out, it would crack. So what they would do is they would take it out a little bit early, par bake. That way it wouldn't crack when they would take it out. The problem is when they would do it like that, it would spoil, it would become moldy. So, because it wasn't fully done. When it was fully done, it would last longer. So it didn't help them. I'm sorry?
Question. Why would people in Alexandria be experts in bread that was used only in Jerusalem?
Yeah. I think my understanding is that this was the specialty bread for everyone. And Alexandria knew how to do everything. That was a cultural place. This was like the best of the best style bread.
So people would eat bread in the shape of the lechem apanim, I guess. That's what it was.
Or in other shapes. This was supposed to be something very difficult to do. So Alexandria was the place where they knew how to do everything. This was Europe. Everything was better in Europe, right? The styles. Okay. So they weren't able to get it. So everything that Hashem did, He did for His honor. All the workings of Hashem is for Him. I guess that means that the knowledge wasn't given over to Alexandria, and so they have to get back the base Garmu. Said, okay, come back. They said, no, figure it out on your own. Okay, if you double our salary, we'll show up. They had to double the salary to get them back. Originally it was 12 mana, now it's mana is 100, so now it's 1200. 1200, now it's 2400. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer Chaf Dalet Hayinaitlem V'Noslam Memches, they had to double, now it's 48 mana. Mana, 2 mana is a year's salary. So it's a lot. I guess so. I assume so. Not for the day. Okay. Well, how come you don't want to teach this? We have a tradition from our fathers. That this house is going to be destroyed. People may do this in front of the idols. We want to keep it just for the Beis Hamikdash. And the following things they were praised. They never had refined flour for bread. No one should say that they're taking it from the lechem apanim in their own houses, privately.
Maybe this was the time when the big temple was functioning in Alexandria, and they were making lechem apanim there too.
Oh, that's interesting. Beis Chanya.
I don't know what the times were, but maybe it works.
Well, there were two. There was Beis Chanya, that was a Beis Hamikdash in Alexandria, but that was, I don't know. But there was also the great synagogue of Alexandria. I don't know if they would be doing service like temple type services. They were just davening there. Okay, Beis Avtinas al Ma'aseh Akteres. The Beis Avtinas. They were in charge of the Ketores. So Beis Avtinas became al Ma'aseh Pitam Akteres of B'mal Lashon. Beis Avtinas were experts in mixing the incense and also Ma'ila Ashan. Ma'ila Ashan, I learned this morning from the Steinsaltz, is a desert smoke riser. It's the name of a bush that apparently you light one thing, the whole thing goes into flames. They say this is what they would use for the smoke to go straight up. So exactly how to use it, or which one it was, and all of this, Beis Avtinas knew how to use it. And they didn't want to teach anyone. So they got experts from Alexandria to come, professors, right, from the universities in Alexandria. But you became Bepitam Akteres became, but they didn't know how to get it to go straight up. So shall Beis Avtinas mismeres va'ila kamakal. It would go up in a pillar straight, like a stick. And then it would spread out via redis, and then it would come down. So the smoke would go up, like spread over the top, and then come down. However, with Alexandria, it just started to spread out right away. That's no big deal. Even the sages realized what's happening. Everything Hashem created was for His own honor. Interesting, it brings a different pasuk. That's the other version. That's the pasuk we got before. They sent for Beis Avtinas. They're not coming back. Until they had to double the wages. Originally, they were taking 12 mana. Now they're taking 24. Rabbi says originally it was 24. Now it's 48. How come you don't want to teach this to anyone? We have a tradition from our father Shabbayas that this house is going to be destroyed. We don't want this to get out and people will do this in front of the idols. However, the following things they said about them for praise. The women of this family never wore perfume. When one of them would take a wife, there was a condition, she shouldn't wear perfume. You shouldn't say that their perfume is coming from the Ketairos. Should be clean from Hashem and from the Jewish people. No one should suspect them. Amar Rabbi Yosi. Rabbi Lipsky says, Rabbi Lipsky from the Shul, says, the teacher tells a parent, says, your son is taking people's items. He's taking, what is he taking? He's taking pencils and pens and whatever. It doesn't belong to him. He says, that's impossible. I bring him from the office as many pencils and pens as that he wants. They're saying that he wasn't supposed to be taken from the office. So the son was taken from the anyway. So it's an example. So, yeah. Although the hotels give you pens that you can take, right? They want you to have a name on it. Rabbi Yosi says, one time I was in Yerushalayim with Sasi Tinekach and Michelle Beis Avtinas. Not the towel, right? The shampoos and the soap was fine, I think. He says, I found a child that was from Beis Avtinas. So, which family are you? I'm such and such a family. Your fathers, he insults him. Your fathers wanted their own honor, and they wanted to diminish the honor of heaven. I guess that means they were charging so much to do this service. So what happened was their honor went down and the honor of heaven went up. What does exactly he mean the honor of heaven went up? I'm not sure. I guess that the fact that the temple was destroyed doesn't affect the honor of heaven. So maybe that's what it means. I don't know. Okay. I'm Rabbi Akiva. Sachli Shimon ben Luga. Rabbi Akiva says, Shimon ben Luga told me, we were one time collecting grass, herbs. Me and a child from the Beis Avtinas. I see him crying and then I see him laughing. My son, why are you crying? My father, the honor of my father's house has been diminished. Why are you laughing? the honor. I'm laughing because of what's going to come to the tzaddikim in the future. Umari Isa, what reminded you of this? Well, like, why? What did you see that? It says Malashon Lenegdi. I saw the Malashon, one of the herbs. Show me which one. Amalei, he says, Rebbe Masoyas Biadimi Avaisish Leila Haris Lebreya. I can't show it to anyone else. It's a tradition, it's a secret. Can you keep a secret? So can I. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says, Malaked Yisyasav, when he was Zaken Echad, we were collecting herbs. Pagabi Zaken Echad. This person comes along, Michel Besaftinas, Megillas Asamanim Biyadi. He has a list of herbs, probably a word for that. Amali Rebbe Lishavar Yabei Sabbath Nuin. He says, Rebbe, in the past, my father's house was very modest. It means that they could keep the secret. When they would pass this scroll from one to another in the family. However, says here it is, be careful with it. I came to Rabbi Akiva, and I told him this, Zalgoin of the mice started to cry. Now we don't have to mention them for shame, because we see that they passed it over to others for the sake of heaven. It was unclear if the reason that they're giving is actually the reason, because they were making money off it. And now that they passed it over, so now it's clear that that's what that was their intention the whole time. That it should only be in the hands of the righteous. Elazar ala parechas. Yeah, it's like Lahabdil. It's like these organic companies, and we don't know what the reason for that. Are they really into the environment and whatever? No, it's owned by Amazon or something. We don't know what's the real motivation. Okay. Elazar ala parechas. Elazar is in charge of the parechas. Shehaya Mimuna al Argi parechas. They were in charge of the weavers. Pinchas and Malbish. Pinchas was in charge of the clothing. Shey Malbish Bigdei Kuhuna Gedola. He would dress the Kainim Gedolim. So Maisa B'Kainechad Shilubis LeStrat Yasechad V'Nosam LeShmina Zehuvim. One time the Skayan dressed a soldier. He gave him 8 coins. Istami Treyasar Yavli. Some say he gave him 12 coins. It's unclear exactly what he's doing for him. Just getting him dressed, like that's going to be, I'm not sure exactly what the pshat is. Okay. Maybe it was a tailor. He made the clothing. Maybe, I don't know. Mishnah says, Ein Peichsin Mishiva Amarkolin. Amarkolin is a word, a compound word. Amar Koil, in charge of everything, the boss. There's no less than 7 people that are in charge. Then there are 3. A gizbar is like a treasurer. In any leadership, there should be 2 people. 2 people in charge. Doesn't sound like things are going to get done if there's 2 people, but it probably means anything that had a fund where money's going to be spent. They didn't want to have just one person in charge. That's probably what it would mean. Except for Ben Achia, he was in charge. He was the doctor. Because these people, everyone trusted them, and it was fine if it was just one person. It's a little different than the way we would understand. Usually we have the boss, and he has the people that are under him, and each one of those people has more people under them, and each one of them have more. So it's this. It's what's it called? A pyramid. Here it's a little different because here there's 7 Amarkalim, and the 7 Amarkalim have 3 Gizbarim under them. It's not the way we would think. We would think the 3 Gizbarim would have 7 Amarkalim under them. 3, yeah. But it works the other way. Okay. Tani Mishnei Katilin. It was taught that there were also Katilikin. There were also 2 Katilikin. These were in charge of, were higher than the Amarkalin as well. Yeah. So it goes 372, starting from the bottom. 3 Gizbarim, 7 Amarkalim, and 2 Katilikin. Hadod the Ksiv, now we quote a pasuk in Divrei Yam and Yechiel Uzio Nachas Gizbarim. When it says Yechiel Uzio and Nachas, that's referring to the Gizbarim, the 3. Vasal, the Rimais, the Izved, the Eliel, the Samachiu, the Machas, the Benayel, 7. That's Amarkalin. And then Pekidin Miyad, Kananeo, Veshimi, Echav, Katilikin. Kananeo and Shimi, his brother, that's the 2, that's the Katilikin. The Mithgad, Yechizkiyo, Amelech, Vazio, Negid, Beis Elikim. That's the Amelech, the Kohen Gadol. That's the king and the Kohen Gadol. They were on top of them. Kshu Chaisim, Hagizbar Chaisim Leisel Amarkel. Amarkel Chaisim Leisel Katilikin. Katilikin Chaisim Leisel Kohen Gadol. Kohen Gadol Chaisim Leisel Melech. Okay. The way they would put seals on things is that the Gizbar would put his seal and he would pass it to the next person up. The Amarkalin would seal it and pass it to the Katilikin. The Katilikin would seal it and pass it to the Kohen Gadol. Kohen Gadol would seal it and pass it to the Melech, and he would seal it. Kshu Mater, and when they undo it, Mater Hamelech, Kshu Mater Hamelech Royach Isama Mater. The king looks at his seal. He says, "Oh, my seal. Okay." He opens it. Kohen Gadol Royach Isama Mater. They pass it to the Kohen Gadol. The Kohen Gadol opens his seal. So each person only undoes his seal. Katilikin Royach Isama Mater. It's a lot of signatures here. All right. Got to get the check signed. Okay. It has to work its way all the way down to get the things open. You don't put rulership over the community unless it's 2. Like it says that they would take the gold, the purple wool, the blue wool and the purple wool. Who's the haim? They. It has to be plural. It has to be more than 2 people. It has to be at least 2 people. I'm sorry. At least 2. Not sure how this comes in. I guess because we're talking about taking the items from the Mishkan. Here we say that Moshe got wealthy from the chiseled pieces of the luchas. It was made out of sapphire. So those were chips, sapphire chips. Carve out for you. That means you keep the chips. Turns out Moshe had a quarry of precious stones right underneath his tent. So you could go in there and just chisel out and it could get rich just from that. Ksiv. Yeah, probably. Yeah, one of the Knesset Shluchim said there's Shliach from the Cohen from Sacramento. He spoke about that under his Chabad house. The experts told him that he has gold. He was all excited. It was like making big plans. It turned out it was pyrite, but it was basically. So someone here in Miami bought a house, and in the house was a safe. So the safe, he didn't have a way to open it. Finally, one day, he got the locksmith. Someone opened the safe. They opened up the safe, and there was gold inside, gold ingots, like little things. Anyway, he calls the office. All the workers go home. He cancels all appointments as he goes to the jeweler. It turned out it was pyrite. So the guy, whoever left the house, left that thing. It's a trick on him. But it just goes, he wouldn't have done well with the money. He already closed his office. That's not the way you do it. First thing is go to work. Don't cancel any appointment. Okay. So he had all this wealth. It says in the pasuk that they watched Moshe until he went to his tent. Train Amirayin, two Amirayin. One says for the negative and one says for the positive. Mandam Lignai, the one that says for the negative, he would say, Chamain Sakin, look at those thighs. Chamain Karn, look at those feet. Chamain Kubba, look at the flesh. Achel min diyudai, v'shas min diyudai, kol madli min diyudai. He's eating the Jewish food, he's drinking the Jewish food, everything that he has, all his possessions comes from the Jews, from the taxes or whatever. Yeah, yeah. Mandam l'shvach, the one that says for the positive, mechamit tzadikai, look at the tzaddik, umiski tuva dezachis l'mechme yasei, and it's a big merit that we're able to look at him. They asked on by Noach, yesh darshan l'shvach, yesh darshan l'gnai. By Noach, it says Noach is tzaddik. Some say for the positive, some say for the negative. So, the Shpelazeda asked, what are these people doing? Saying for the negative, like what's their point? If you have the option to say for the positive, so why are you saying for the negative? So he said like this, that you should know that even if yesh darshan l'gnai, the Torah still calls him a tzaddik. So just the fact that people are saying this doesn't say anything about Moshe. He says about Noach. Just because yesh darshan l'gnai, it doesn't mean that you can't listen to what people say. Okay. The Mishnah says, Dalet chaysamesei b'mikdash. There were 4 seals in the mikdash. These seals are really tokens. And you would go and you would buy this token, pay for this token, and you would get the flour, wine, and oil that you bought with it. Each token had a certain value to it. So each token said on it, there was possible of 4. One said an egel is a calf. That's from the cow family. One says zachar. It's referring to an ayil, a ram, which is a male sheep. Gedi, one says a goat, and we'll see that the goat also meant sheep. And v'chayte, and the chayte is going to be referring to the mitzayra, because tzaras comes from a list of possible things that someone does wrong, so it's called chayte. And he has several karbanos, so it's like a package that he would get a whole bunch of different things for all his different sacrifices. Plus, he needed a little oil to put on his thumb, his right thumb, his toe, and to put on his head. That was part of his purification. So the chayte would get this whole package. Benazi Omer Hey, how you? Benazi says there were actually 5. Va'aramis kasav aleim, and instead of written in Hebrew, it was written in Aramaic. Egel, the only difference is the dechar instead of zachar, the dalet, the zion switches for a dalet. The male, which is referring to the ayil, the ram. Gedi, chayte dal v'chayte asher, the poor mitzayra and the rich mitzayra, depending on how much he has to bring, what he's bringing along, what type of sacrifice. Egel, if it says egel, which means a calf. It goes for all types of the cattle, large, small, male, and female. It goes for the male and female, young and old, except for the ayil. The ayil is a male, but it's a male, I think that's 1 year old. Past its first year. I think it's in its second year. Mail in a second. When it says dechar, that's only that one. This goes for the 3 offerings of the Mitzvah. Someone that needs to get these libations. So he goes to Yochanan, that was in charge of the seals, these tokens. He gives the money. Now, Yitzi Kasowitz told me that even though you can't go on with a money belt, but you would go in with exact change. You weren't allowed to go on the Temple Mount with a money belt, but you can carry the coins in your hand. You would go with that. You would go and you would buy that token. That receipt, whatever, would come to Achia Shemun al Nesachim, and then you would take the token to him and you would get the Nesachim. Makabel connect and mais. Achia and Yochanan would then get together in the evening and they would exchange the tokens for the money to make sure that it all worked out. If it didn't work out, Yochanan was responsible. He would have to pay. If there was anything extra, someone could have said extra change or whatever, keep the change. So that would go to Hektish. The house always wins. Hektish has the upper hand. What happens if a person lost his token? They would wait him to find it until the evening. In the evening, they would check, was all the money there? If not, they wouldn't give it to him. It also had the day on it, because someone can claim that he lost it and then return the next day and then use it, like a parking receipt, or something. It didn't say what day it was. He would come back the next day and say, "What do you mean? I was here the whole time. Look, something. This is my." I had to say the day on it. We'll see. Yeah, in Europe, you have to pay for bathrooms in some amusement parks or something. Yeah, I was a counselor there, and this boy needed the bathroom. He said, "Please, just I didn't have the change." Okay, but you can never come back. Okay, we're going back to Belgium, some amusement park. Okay. Benazai Chayte. Oh, that could be. Yeah, that's what they would do. Okay, Benazai Chayte Dal Lama. Chayte Dal Lama. Benazai has this extra token, the 5th token that Benazai adds for a Chayte Dal. What is that for? Well, maybe Luka Imai. Apparently, you could get the oil a little cheaper outside the temple. So the Chayte Dal that had to bring oil, he wouldn't buy it from the temple. He would bring it from his own. He could bring it from the house because the temple always had that upper hand. So, Bram Kirabanan maybe Gedi. But according to the Rabbanan, he would just bring for a Gedi, which is a 1/4 of a hin of oil. Okay. Nischei Rachel. What was the Nischei Rachel? The Rachel is a sheep. It's a lamb. Where did that go? It says Min Ma Detanin Gedim Shamis Nichtei Tzain Gedalim Ktan Schern as well. That was the coin, the token that was for a goat. Hadamri Nischei Rachel Knischei Gedi. The token for the sheep was the same as the goat. The Ksiv, it says in the pasuk, Kachi Yasel Shara Echad, Ela Ayel Echad, Ela Seb, Kvasim by Beizim. We quote the pasuk. Where's this in Shlach? I think right after the spies. It says, basically, you're not going into the land of Israel. Everyone here is not going to make it. But when you do go in, you're going to bring nesachim on the sacrifices. That's basically how the parshas break down. You have to bring the oil and the flour and the wine. When it says in that pasuk l'shara echad, for one ox. Lama nema. What's that telling me? Coming to tell me that if it's a calf or a big ox, it's all the same. Bedin, show you bedin, because I could have thought differently. When it comes to sheep, so I need nesachim, and when it comes to cattle, I need nesachim. Turns out that by the sheep, there's a difference between the male and the female. The ayil has a different amount. The way it works is that if it's a cow, you bring 3 isaron and a half a him. If it's a ayil, you bring 2 isaron and a third of a him. And if it's a sheep, you bring 1 isaron echad, and a quarter of a him. So there's different amount. But the sheep and the male sheep are different. So I could have thought that by the cattle, it should also be different. So I should make a distinction between a young calf and an older shar. Nope. That's what you do for the one ox. There's only one ox. It means that you don't make distinctions. Why does it say la'ayel? Because it could have thought like this. You see, the ayel is only if it's in its second year. It's ben shenasayim. It's past its first year. I should maybe make a distinction between if it's in its second year to if it's in its third year. Nope. I don't make that distinction. Once it's a year old, then it goes for the ayil. Why does it say for the sheep, for the lamb amongst the sheep? Because I could have thought like this. If there's a distinction between a sheep and a ram, there should be a difference between a lamb and a sheep. Those are different ages, I think. The Rachel would be a female sheep under 1 year old. Says no, the lamb in the sheep. Why does it say the goats? If there's a difference between male and female sheep, there should be a difference between a young kid and an older goat. Just like this is a third of a hin, that's also a third of a hin, no matter the age of the goat. It would say the name of which day it was. 1 second. What is the day? It's the day of the week. He'll come back the following week. And he has the token. He claimed he lost it. Goes home, he finds it, it's in his jacket pocket. He'll come back and he'll use it. He'll get free nesachim. It says, well, Shema Mishmar Hayakasavalav. It had also the name of which family of Kainim, and they switched off every week. So you can't come back the next week on the Tuesday and use it. 1 second. Later on in the year, this Mishmar is going to come back because there were 24 groups. So they're twice a year. So you can come back on a Tuesday, 24 weeks later, and they'll be able to use it. So it says Shema Yom Shel Shabbos Shem Chodesh Kosav Aleim Afilu Reitzal Zaygen Matzal Zaygen. It's impossible because it also had the month, and the month is not going to work out later on in the year. Well, maybe it's going to come back the next year. It didn't work out perfectly because it was 24 and 24. 24 weeks, maybe 48 weeks. I don't know, maybe it would work out because a regular year would work out. Oh. Yeah, they wouldn't wait for it. Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, the Mishnah says, yeah. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. That's a proof that they didn't find it. Archaeological proof. The Steinhaus doesn't have a picture. Right. Right. And I assume they were clay, so they would last. The clay tokens would last. There were two rooms in the temple. One was the silent room, and one was the room of vessels. People that were Yerechet would, the fear of sin, they would put in secretly money into this room. And then B'nai Taivim, people that were poor, but they came from important families that didn't want to just get handouts, they would go secretly to get it. No one should know that they're taking from this fund. Anyone that would want to donate a vessel would throw it in there. It sounds like it would get bent, but whatever. Anything, any vessel that the Beis Hamikdash thought they could use, they would use. Otherwise, they would sell it, and the money would go for the temple upkeep. You're going to see later that it's not specifically the temple upkeep, but also for the chamber of the temple upkeep. Rabbi Yaakov bar Yidi and Rabbi Yitzchak bar Nachman have a parnasin. Rabbi Yaakov bar Yidi and Yitzchak bar Nachman, they were people that were in charge of a fund. Havayavim l'Rab Chamai, avoid the Rabbi Yoshia dinar, v'yav l'Chorani. They would give Rab Chama, the father of Rabbi Yoshia, a dinar, and he would give it out to the others. Rab Zechariah chasni de Rab Levi. Rab Zechariah, chasni means the son-in-law, right? Of Rab Levi. Everyone would whisper about him. They would gossip. Say, he's taking money from tzedakah and he doesn't really need it. After he passed away, they realized that he was handing it out to other people. Rab Chinna bar Papa have a maflig mitzvah b'layla. Chadzman pagabei rabba deruchaya. Rab Chinna bar Papa would give out coins at night, without anyone noticing. He would go give out the envelopes on the doors. So one night, the chief of the evil spirits meets up with him. So Amalei Laikoin Olfan Rebbe Laitasakvol Riyacha, were you not taught don't enter into your friend's boundary? You know, you're crossing the limits. This is my territory. Amalei Valaikenksiv Matan Beses Yichbaf, that when you give secretly, it covers over the anger. Baba Mistafina Mine, they were afraid of him. Varkman come in, they ran away from him. Doesn't say praised is the one that gives to the poor. It says praised is the one that thinks about the poor. So you have to think about how to do the mitzvah. So what would he do? When you see poor person that came from a good family, that he lost his money. I heard that there's an inheritance coming your way. So tol va'at pereya, take from me, come with me, I'll lend you money, you'll pay when the inheritance comes in. Once he took it, he says it's a present. Yeah, you don't have to pay me back. Okay, let's leave it over here. Okay, have a good day.